Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope your day is going wonderful. I'm so glad you're joining me today. We're going to create a card today with the Spellbinders Large Die of the Month Club kit for February 2023. It's called Spring Reflection, and we are going to jump in and do a little bit of die cutting. Instead of using colored cardstock today, I thought we'd do a little bit of ink blending on white cardstock. So we are going to start by die cutting out everything with white cardstock. There's two different patterns in here to create your a frame, as you will. And what you would do is just die cut it out twice and then flip it around and to create a second pattern. And I love that Spellbinders included that. Since these are detailed pieces, we are going to bring in some white liner sheets, and then we're also going to bring in some white cardstock. White liner sheets are basically just a double-sided adhesive. Spellbinders has some, and I'll link it down below. But it's just like what you would use to create like a sticker. I'm going to remove the release paper off of one side. And then I'm going to tack it down to an A2 panel. And we'll start with the corner. And we'll line it up here. I have a little bit overhanging, so I'm just going to use my scissors, and I'm going to trim off the excess that's overhanging. So now when we die cut it, all we have to do is remove the release paper off of the reverse side. Detailed pieces like this are, it's nice that we don't have to fuss with any glue. I'm going to layer my pattern here on my A2 panel, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. And then I'll die cut this out. And what this is going to do is going to die cut out a piece that looks just like this. But it's going to leave me a halfway oval in the center, so I'll just use the same piece of cardstock, flip it around, and we're going to die cut it out on the reverse side. So we'll start with this, and I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to run this through my die cut machine. Okay, I ran it through my die cut machine, and I punched out all the pieces, well, for the most part. So I have that white liner sheet behind here, so it's a sticker, which makes it really, really nice. I'm going to keep the negative piece because we're going to use this in our background. In our die set, there's an oval that is slightly smaller, and we're going to take this oval and die cut this out with some white cardstock. While we're doing our die cutting, we need a flourish. There's two different types of flourishes that you can add to this. One of them has some top view flowers, and these are the side view flowers. This is the side view one. I'm going to use the one that has just the top view flowers. We're going to die cut out some of these small flowers also. I'm going to die cut out this panel twice with some white cardstock. And then I'll die cut out my sentiment. There's a little scalloped shape you can add. And then I'm going to die cut out, let's die cut out thank you. And all you would do to get that etched thank you is insert this in here. And then that will create our sentiment for our card. Okay, we are eventually going to create some flowers here. But I want to do a little ink blending, so I want to get all my main white areas die cut first. We also have some flower centers. The oval shaped one, I'm assuming, go to the side view flowers, and then the circle ones will fit in the center of these flowers. So I'm going to use some gray cardstock. This is lunar gray cardstock, and I want some gray dots behind the white, so we'll die cut out the white detail piece and then the background for that with lunar gray cardstock. So I have a little bit of die cutting to do, and then we're going to do a little ink blending, so I will be right back. Now I have, for the most part, my white, what I want die cut out white. We're all done with the die cutting. Now we want to do a little bit of ink blending. I'm going to put this off to the side with this panel. and with also these detail panels. We'll put these off to the side. These are our flower centers. You can actually die cut out some flower centers for the smaller ones with this piece here. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use some use the flower centers. I'm going to use either gems or some NUVO drops for these. We'll put this off to the side, and this is our sentiment. You can see the etched detail on there. And then these are our pretty flourishes. These flowers here will fit perfectly in these areas, and then these little smaller areas will fit these white flowers here. So that they're layerable, and I love that. And I die cut out two because these die cutting out two will fit perfectly in our oval. Let me show you. And see how pretty that is. Okay, these are our flower centers, and I'm going to use the small circles. I die cut out a couple sets, and then we have the larger circle for the larger flower here. And I'll just take out the gray background, and then we can put these off to the side. To layer them, it's very easy. I'm just going to use a little bit of glue. And then I'm going to use my tweezers, and we'll just line these up. So these are our flower centers. I'm only going to create 3. We're going to do one panel together, and then I'll do the other one off camera to save a little bit of time. Okay, so we'll put these off to the side, and then we need to do a little bit of ink blending. So let's bring in a craft mat. And first, I have some Bristol Smooth cardstock. I chose Bristol Smooth because I think it's going to ink blend beautifully. And then I have some inks here. I have 3 different colors, and this is typically my favorite color combination. I don't know, the pink and the yellow, basically, and then it creates an orangey corally color. Love that, especially for spring. So I have Kitsch Flamingo, Squeezed Lemonade, and Carved Pumpkin, and we're going to create a background on this panel. This is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. So I'm just going to use my blending tool for that. I'm going to use my pink first, my Kitsch Flamingo, and I'm going to add some pink at the very top. And then I'm going to flip it around, and we're going to do the same thing on the bottom. And I think that's going to work out great. I might need to add a little bit more, so I'll just leave my ink out. Next, I'm going to take my Squeezed Lemonade, and using my blending tool, we are going to create another row of ink just below our Kitsch Flamingo. And I'm going to do on the other side too. Okay, I'm going to put these inks away, and then for this middle strip, we're going to use our Carved Pumpkin. Add a little bit of orange in here. And I think that's going to work out great. I'm going to put this off to the, let's add a little more ink here. I'm going to put this off to the side, let this dry, and then I'm going to take another panel, and this time we're going to use those same colors, but we're just going to create a couple little circles with them. I'll add my pink, and we're going to overlap them. And then we'll add a Carved Pumpkin. And I think that's going to work out. Looks real plotchy, but that's okay. We're going to use our dies now. And we're going to die cut out some flowers so that they have 2 tones on each of the flower sections. And I'll die cut out a few and then we'll put together our flowers. To create my flowers, we're going to start by adding a little bit of glue to the etched flower area, which would be these ones. 1, 2, and 3. And then we have those flower centers that we created. I'm just going to pick up the flower center and add those. And then I want a little bit of dimension on my flowers, so I'm going to use some small foam squares. And we're going to place them in the middle of our flower here. And then we can layer this right on top. Now these flowers are going to layer beautifully on here, but I want a little bit of color on my panel here. So I'm going to bring in another Distress Oxide ink. This time we're going to bring in some peacock feathers. And I'm just going to lightly go over my panel here. And I'm going to go over where the leaves would be, to where I have some white areas and some not so white areas. And I think that's going to work out perfect. Just a little bit of color. And I know I didn't want green, I wanted to go with a teal, and I think this is going to work out great. I'm going to use my glue, and I'm going to go over each one of these flowers. And then we can place these right in their home, and you can see they line up beautifully. We'll do the same over here. Lovely. Okay, we have our little white flowers, and we're going to add little dots of glue where these would be. And then we can go ahead and add our little white flowers. If you wanted to use a stylus and pop these up, you could. And I love how delicate that looks. I think it looks really pretty. Now I'm going to do the same thing with my next panel. The same exact thing, and then I will be right back. Okay, so we have two identical flourishes, and before we put away our oxide inks, I'm going to take my blending tool that had the peacock feathers on it, and I'm just going to go around the edges where the scallop is on this thank you to give this a little bit of color. Wonderful. Now I have my card base. Let's zoom back out. I have my card base, and this is a standard A2 size card base. We are going to take this panel, and remember we put the white liner tape behind it. We're just going to use our tool-in-one. I'm going to remove the release paper off of that white liner sheet. And then I'm going to take this panel, and we're going to tack it on our ink blended background. We're just going to line it up. Okay, so I adhered that to our background panel. Now I'm going to take this panel, we're going to take some adhesive, and we're going to tack this down to our card base. Wonderful. Now I'm going to take our detail layer, I'm going to remove the release paper off of that white liner sheet, and then we're going to we're going to inlay these on our panel here. And again, we have two options in the kit this month. I think it's pretty fabulous. And since this is oxide ink, it does take a little bit of time to dry. So you want to make sure that this panel that we ink blended on is completely dry before you do this. Otherwise, your detail layer won't stick. Okay, we'll inlay these. And I think it creates a beautiful effect. Now we have this panel. We're going to take this and we're going to add, I'm just going to remove the release paper and we'll add one to the top. And then this goes right below it. Kind of looks like it's almost floating. I think that's really pretty. Okay, we're going to take some adhesive and I'm going to add it down the middle of this oval, and we're just going to plant this right in the middle. And after we have this done, we have our sentiment. So I'm going to take one foam square here, put it right in the middle, and then we'll put thank you right in the center. Now I mentioned that these little white flower centers, what we're going to do to keep this real soft and springy, I'm going to bring in some NUVO crystal drops. This is Ivory Seashell. Spellbinders has this in the shop, and I love that they started carrying this. And I need to do a test. And that will finish off my card today, using the Spellbinders Large Die of the Month Club Kit for February 2023. Again, this club kit is called Spring Reflection, and I think it creates a beautiful and unique card. Thanks for joining me. Have a wonderful day, and we will see you again real soon. Bye-bye.